Time once again for Feel Good Friday on SportsCenter AM, and this might make you feel a little less than accomplished yourself. Gabby Anderson is a high school basketball player in Ohio. She is headed to Harvard to hoop for the Crimson. That is huge in its own right, but she also owns her own business, Graffiti by Gabby, custom shoe design company where she's collaborated with pro players, including Sue Bird. That's a mutual friend we have in common. It's great to have Gabby Anderson with us on Feel Good Friday on SportsCenter AM. Gabby, so far today, you've already had basketball practice. Are we getting you out of anything this morning, whether it's a class or a workout or anything like that? Is this a break for you? Are we helping you?
No, actually, today is one of my freer days, so all I had was workout this morning. So.
All right, perfect. Well, we won't keep you from too much more of that. How did you realize, Gabby, that you had this artistic gift?
I think it was in art class one day. My teacher had asked me to draw this elephant, and I had to sketch it out, and I had to put it on a graph and just do it. And it came out a lot better than I expected. It wasn't lopsided. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, I'm kind of good at this art stuff. And then after I started my company, that's when I really knew. I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do this.
You can, and you have drawn attention from pro athletes. How did the Sue Bird collaboration come together?
Well, her company actually contacted my school, IMG Academy, and the marketing people, I had already worked with them because I had done a shoe for the school for Women's Day. And so I had worked with them, and then they just asked me to do a shoe for Sue Bird. And of course I couldn't say no. I mean, it's Sue Bird.
So if you could collaborate with any athlete now, who would you collaborate with if you could pick?
Most definitely Serena Williams. She is a wonderful person and an amazing athlete, probably my favorite athlete. So,
what is it about Serena that you most identify with?
She is a powerful woman, and I think sometimes she gets a lot of backlash for being who she is. And I mean, being myself, I understand that sometimes, and in the culture that she's in, and as great as a person and athlete that she is, she gets so much hate, and I just love how she deals with that on her own perspective and in her own way. And so I'm just loving all of Serena.
All right, let's put it out there then. Let's get word to Serena that Gabby wants to collaborate with her, and we'll follow up on it, and we'll see. We'll do like a revisit down the road. And by then, I mean, you're working with Serena at that point. You can call your shot. I listened to the Black and Sports podcast that you did, and you talked about how this started, where your dad got you a pair of custom kicks, and you were like, hey, I want another one. He's like, hey, do it yourself. And it's taken off, and you started your company. My question now is, have your parents come back to you, right? Mom played ball at Arkansas, dad played in the NFL. Have they come back to you and said, all right, it's time for a family discount? And then if they did, what your answer was to that?
No. I think my mom has asked me. No, they haven't asked me for anything. I mean, my mom is my ride or die, so she's pretty much just been helping me out with everything that I'm doing. She hasn't asked for a pair of shoes yet. I'm surprised. I don't know. I think she's more of a jacket type of gal. So.
Well, we see the artwork over your shoulder. We know you can. It's more than just sneakers, to be sure. I'm curious about the process, and specifically your process. And I understand how personal that can be for an artist. When you get a custom order, how does that come together?
So basically, they send me the shoe, and then they send me an idea. And sometimes their ideas are really specific, down to every last detail, down to the color of the laces. And I'm like, okay, that's easy. Other times it requires a lot more nitpick and research that goes into it, because they'll just be like, oh, well, I just want something BLM on it. And I'm like, okay, anything else?
Right,
and they're like, no, do whatever you want. And so then I research, I look up things, I make mock-ups, I change, like I'll put something on the shoe on the mock-up, and then I'll change it around to make sure it fits properly. And then once I have a mock-up, it's smooth sailing from there. Then it's just painting. You
can go to Gabby's Twitter handle. You can see how the iPad's involved too, how you use some of those patterns and how you're able to make it so specific. Getting Sue Bird's signature on her shoes, that I was blown away by that. with regard to the process, and maybe we're asking for selfish reasons, but you're a woman's, what, 15 and a half? What's your...
7 and a half.
Seven and a half.
My birthday's next week.
Okay. Oh, there you go. There's that. So listen, if you would be willing, and we could send you some shoes, maybe we could get some SportsCenter kicks. What do you think about that?
That's a good idea.
I think it's a fine idea, but we're going to be behind Serena in line.
Right.
Understood.
Oh,
I'm curious,
definitely.
Gabby, as someone who is as talented, and a reminder, like, you're going to play ball at Harvard. Like, you're going to an Ivy League to play. And I wanted to ask you about your Boston accent, but we have no time, I'm told. So I'm curious, though, when you sleep at night, do you dream about, and maybe you think about your future at all, do you dream about basketball or do you dream about your art?
I feel like it's a combination of both because honestly, I owe it to basketball that I have gotten so far that I have with my art because, I mean, they're both equally as much a part of me as anything else. I mean, I'm nothing without my basketball and I'm nothing without my art. They are me, so I love them both.
To occupy both spaces and to do that at such a high level, it's inspiring. It's humbling for someone who is mediocre in both. Gabby, listen, you're an athlete, artist, business owner, and the best is yet to come. I have a real feeling of that. Best of luck, best of health at Harvard, and thank you for the time on Feel Good Friday.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
I feel like I worked my whole